Hello, I'm Brian Chrisman. I want to welcome you to my newly launched YouTube channel. Long overdue, but a channel for my book that I wrote in 2021, The Gospel in the Dock. Some of you may have the book. I'm hoping some of you may become interested in it. Part of the reason I'm doing this channel. But I want to explain to you today what this book is about and introduce it. Now, the first thing is the title, The Gospel in the Dock. What does that mean? Well, for better or for worse, I chose to follow kind of the lead of C.S. Lewis, who has this book, God in the Dock. I'm a big C.S. Lewis fan. I've been reading him for over 40 years. He actually was instrumental in my conversion from kind of an agnostic, quasi-atheist to being a believer in the gospel, which is the subject of the book. I give a tiny bit of autobiography of that in my acknowledgments in the book. But the gospel in the dock, what's the dock? Well, the dock, it's actually pictured on the book cover. The dock is where, see, here's a chair, and here's the Bible, and there's a gavel. So the dock is where the accused person sits in a trial. So the publishers, they kind of use the Bible as a symbol for the gospel. Now, I don't think the Bible is the gospel. We're not saved by the Bible. We're saved by Jesus Christ. That's what the gospel is, the gospel of Jesus Christ. But at any rate, the gospel is in the dock. It's sitting in the place of the accused in the courtroom of humanity as a potentially dangerous, evil, criminal thing. So at any rate, that's the gospel in the dock. Now, I have the subtitle, Is the Gospel of Jesus Christ Good for the Church, Humanity, and the World? And that's there's well, you could say four things there, but the first is just, is the gospel good? But I get a little bit more into, is it good in these relations, in relation to the church, in relation to humanity, and in relation to the world. So the first is the gospel of Jesus Christ good for the church. That gets into the question of, well, does the church live by the gospel? Is the gospel good enough for the church? Say, if the gospel says love your enemies, does the church want to kill their enemies, hate their enemies? Things like that. If the church doesn't live by the gospel, what does that do to the gospel? Are they even preaching the gospel? Does the church not living up to the gospel make the gospel meaningless? You know, how much does it make it does it show that the gospel is nothing, is bad, is not of God, things like that? So is the gospel good for the church? It's fairly subversive in that sense that most people say, oh, of course the gospel is good for the church. Well, but is the church living by it? Is the church see it as good for itself? Or does it want to follow ways of power, ways of, just promoting itself, in human ways that are can be bad. So at any rate, that's the first aspect. The second aspect is the gospel good for humanity? Well, that's the more core question of the gospel. Is it good for humanity? In the early church, the gospel was seen as foolishness by the Greeks and a scandal to the Jews, who the gospel, first and foremost came for. So is the gospel good? Is it good news? That's what the word gospel means. Is the gospel good news, or is it bad news? Is it just some ancient message that should be relegated to the dustbin of history, or is it vital, still good news for humanity today? The way of salvation is what most people call it. What exactly is that salvation? I get into a lot of nitty-gritty stuff in this book. The third aspect is the gospel good for the world? The world itself, the planet, is the gospel itself, we hear about existential crisis with climate change and is man behind, a cause of that? Nuclear annihilation is even more in the picture today than it has been in more recent history. Will humans destroy the planet? Does the gospel have anything to say about these kind of things? Is the gospel good for the entire world? Well, the gospel is the redemption of creation. and I believe it is the redemption of the world, and has something to do with keeping humans, from annihilating ourselves and the planet. So I get into that question. It's not a huge question, but it is a topic I get into. Is the gospel good for the world itself? A lot of people it's a big concern, so we shouldn't ignore it. So at any rate, that's what the book is about. I hope that you'll take advantage of this channel. You may have questions. You may have started reading, got stalled along the way, saying, what is he talking about? You may be scratching your head. I'm here. I want to be an author who stands behind the work, providing this forum for you to get the most out of reading the book. And so I hope you'll come back. I hope you'll like and subscribe. I hope that you will enjoy the content as I go through the book slowly, methodically, kind of explaining different things. And I'm not going to read the book on here. I'm not a good reader of my own work, but I may read bits and pieces here and there and just kind of explain what I'm doing, where I'm going, and just, again, providing a forum for questions and comments for you, who hopefully will, like I said, subscribe to the channel and get the book if you don't have it. At any rate, again, welcome, and I hope to see you back soon. And I do have another YouTube channel. I've written another book since the time I wrote this book, and it's the first of a 4-volume series, the Kierkegaardian reading of the Gospel of Mark. So again, it's about the gospel, but it's about the gospel kind of from the perspective, or in kind of like a tag team, duo of, those old wrestling things with a tag team. Well, it's Mark and Kierkegaard presenting the gospel to modern man is basically what that's all about. I think it's a great tag team, a lot of similarities, ironically, from an ancient gospel and a modern philosophical writer of the mid-1800s. Anyway, that's another channel I hope you'll find and like and subscribe to. And I just sent in the second book in that series, and I'm just starting to write the 3rd volume, and there'll be a 4th volume. It's a 4-volume series, and that's really where where I am nowadays. So at any rate, thanks once again so much. Bye.